Are celebrity books even worth it, or is it just another money grab? Hey y'all, if you're new here, my name is Be a Meat Queen, and today I'm going to be reviewing 5 memoirs all by popular black celebrities that I had an interest in and just wanted to be nosy and see what they were writing about. The celebrities I'm going to be talking about today are Issa Ray, Lane Welteroth, Viola Davis. So for each book, I'm going to go through what I liked, what I didn't like, and if you stay around to the end, you'll see how I rank these books from best to worst. In no particular order, we're going to start with Michelle Obama. So I read this book because I wanted to see what it was like to be black and in the White House. I feel like Michelle did a really great job of making us feel a part of the White House while it was going on, and also in the book. She kind of gives you behind the scenes of what her experience is like, and also how she just turned the place upside down. She redecorated the art in the White House to show black leaders. People like Madam C.J. Walker and Martin Luther King were all over the White House. She got a stylist, so a black stylist that proceeded to pick out pieces from black fashion brands, and throughout her different tours and all the speeches and speaking engagements that she's done, she has worn these different designers. I think that's super cool. I personally don't pay that much attention to fashion designers. Maybe I should, but she talks about a lot of designers that she really appreciated, and actually she met a few of them after wearing some of their pieces to some of her speaking engagements. So I thought that was incredibly cool. She also talks about what it was like to raise kids in the White House. So I'm not a mom, I don't plan on being one, but it's really interesting to hear all the things she had to go through to try to give her girls a regular life. Ultimately, they don't really live a regular life. I mean, how many black girls you know grew up in the White House? They're literally the only 2. She talks about how like they had to go through different security clearances and to do a bunch of stuff just to have simple play dates and socialization for the girls. Of course, she also talks about how her and Barack met, which I think is such a funny story. Like, I don't think I would have guessed it, but it's pretty interesting. So if you're unfamiliar with it, without giving away too much, she was Barack's boss when they met. And what's even funnier is that he was late on his first day of work, and she was immediately turned off by it. So I think that's super funny. So she also includes pictures of her and Barack on their wedding day, and then also when they went to Hawaii with their girls for the first time. So cute. I love when celebrities include like their baby photos in books. I think it is so precious. Maybe it's just me. So I feel like in this book you get to know Michelle Obama as a human and not necessarily as this public figure, and I think that's really unique. She is very personable to me, and she comes across that way in any of her interviews and for any appearances that she does, and I really like that. Her and Barack were just regular people before they were in the White House. Were your average, okay, they maybe weren't your average Joes, but they have a lot of experiences that people that look like us also have. So I like that she really gave the White House a personable touch. Yeah, I was a huge fan of this book. I love seeing her book tour. I love seeing the speeches that she gave throughout her book tour. Like, this was everything. I really did like this book. So next we have Issa Ray with The Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl. So this was a pandemic read for me. I didn't know Issa Ray had a book until I was mindlessly searching the internet for something to read during the shutdown. So I'm really happy that I found it. I didn't know anything really about Issa Ray until Insecure was on and poppin'. She also started out on YouTube. She was doing a ton of different creative projects at my age, actually at her late 20s and early 30s. I didn't really know much of anything about her other than Insecure when I started reading this book. And I'm actually really happy that I didn't know anything about her, because it kind of gave me a brand new perspective to look at. What I like about this book the best is that she talks about how awkward she was in her childhood, and that is literally me. Like, I feel like I am just so awkward of a person, or at least was, and I'm still like growing into this, you know, real adult human. She takes awkward to a whole nother level, and she also has a comedic spin on it too. So her first few chapters are absolutely hilarious. It does die down to me in the middle, where she talks about like her college experiences and then like starting her YouTube channel, and it picks back up later on when she then talks about her big break with Insecure. So at the time, I was completely and totally incredibly obsessed with Insecure and wanted more of that to be in this book, and it wasn't. And that's because it was written when Insecure, I think, was in its 2nd season, so it was still pretty early on, and we had like another 3 seasons to go. But I would love to see Issa Ray do another book. So since Insecure has ended, ended. She's been in Barbie, which has been a huge movie role in my opinion. She also has done a ton of speaking engagements. She had 2 spin-off shows. So one was Sweet Life on HBO, another one it's about the rappers on HBO. I forget what it's called. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyway, her career has taken a totally different path, and I would want to know what's going on with that and like how she actually came to that. And then she also got married. Like what, she literally popped out like, oh yeah, I'm married, and then also didn't tag her new husband in it, which I thought was absolutely insane but also iconic. So yeah, I want to know her business. Like I want her to give us another book. This one was a pretty good starter book, but I want a second. Next is going to be about Viola Davis. The book is called Finding Me. Now I got this book for my birthday. I asked for it for my birthday because I really wanted to read it. I saw it everywhere, and I love Viola Davis's work. I became completely and totally obsessed with her and the show How to Get Away with Murder. So that show came out when I was in college, and fun fact, my college had really awful Wi-Fi. So the only time I could really stream TV shows where the Wi-Fi signal was strong enough was at like 2 or 3 a.m. when people were either sleeping or out partying. So I would literally sit in my bed and on my laptop just watch several episodes at a time of this show on Hulu, and I thought it was absolutely incredible. I loved it. I loved every single second of it. I was really heartbroken when it's canceled, and like they were just like, oh yeah, we're done, like, you know, whatever. Yeah, that one really hurt. But I've obviously seen Viola Davis in a ton of other movies that she has been a very prominent figure on, and love those movies. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be a smash hit. Like I'm gonna love this book. This book was incredibly traumatic, and the reason why I say that is because Viola Davis talks a lot about her background and how she grew up. If you're unfamiliar with her story, she grew up in a very impoverished background where she did not have water, she did not have clean clothes, she didn't have food. She was peeing the bed up until her teenage years. Like she had a very traumatic background and upbringing. She started her acting career on Broadway, which I didn't know, but while she was on Broadway, she was supporting her family. So if you see anything about the writer's strike or the actor's strike, then you know that actors and writers don't get paid a lot if you're not a huge star. Even on those the really small salaries and payments that she was given, she was still taking care of her family back in Rhode Island. So I thought this story was very difficult to read. I normally read books in like 2 or 3 days, and this book took me a few weeks because it was just very difficult to read through. I already did a full review on my YouTube, so you can check out that video. It's already posted. But like Michelle Obama, she does include pictures in the middle, which is actually my favorite part of this book, that all the pictures that she includes. And this one is her of her wedding day. I think that is so freaking cute. Also her with Miss Tyson. So she was a huge fan of her, and she was like actually fangirling when she got the chance to work with her in How to Get Away with Murder. I thought that was a really cute point that she added in there too. So there are a lot of positives in this book. However, about half of it is her background and her upbringing and how traumatic it was. It does end on a positive, so that is great. She talks about how she met her husband and how they became to be, and it's not a usual love story. Like it's not your romance trope, at least not in my mind. It isn't. I think it's very different and very unique, so I did love that she included that in there. But overall, this was a pretty hard read. Like it was a lot harder than I was expecting, and I'm happy that I read it because I can understand where she comes from and why she advocates for people as hard as she does. But this was something serious. So the next book I'm going to talk about is More Than Enough by Elaine Welteroth. This book came out in 2020, and I felt the need to read it. Like it was all over my feed. I could not go a day without seeing this book, and I was finally gave in and was like, okay, I'm gonna buy this book and I'm gonna read it. It was the pandemic, and I was going through a very difficult time and trying to find my way in my own career. So this book was very uplifting. I did read and skim some pages in the last few days, and since then I have very different feelings about it. There's nothing wrong with having a positive book that is encouraging and inspiring to its readers. I think that's actually the point of reading a book. However, this book didn't give me anything new. It is a lot of finding your identity and finding finding who you are and being very positive. I think the moment that I read it, the message really resonated with me. But as I am today, I'm not really crazy about this book. I think it was marketed extremely well. Again, I saw this book all over my feed, every single place, no matter what. I don't think it is very relevant to my life today. I really didn't have much of a connection with Elaine Welteroth before this book. I came to follow her because I actually saw her and her husband's wedding. They had a Brooklyn stoop wedding that went viral on the internet, and that's how I came to know this book. I think I was more connected to their story and not necessarily this story. So in the book, she does talk about her dating experiences and all of the wrongs that she went through to get to her prince, if you like that analogy. But she doesn't talk about her current relationship, and I think that may be by design. I definitely appreciate people have boundaries and they exercise those boundaries, so she's not obligated to share about her current relationship. But I was somewhat expecting that to be in this book, and it wasn't. So since then, they have had a few anniversaries, I believe, and they also have a child now, so that definitely changes the tone of this book. Again, I think it was relevant at the time that it came out, but today I wouldn't really recommend this book. So if you want positivity and you're like, you know, I need someone to really like inspire and motivate me, and you can read this book. However, I don't think it is life-changing, to be quite honest. I think it was marketed really, really well, so great job to their team. I think this cover also sticks out really well too. I'm not a fan of it, but it stands out. It did come out with a second cover a few months after this one, which I think is a little bit better. But right now, I'm really not a huge fan of this book. Maybe in a few years, I will have different feelings about it and I will come back to it and I will like it, but it's not really high on my list. Next up is Gabrielle Union, We're Gonna Need More Wine. So this was a gift to me from a friend, and I actually was really happy when I received it because she told me that she loved this book and I trusted her recommendation. I was like, yeah girl, give me the book, jokingly, and then she actually gave me the book. So I love being gifted books, so I immediately was like, okay, this is gonna be a goodie, I know it. Gabrielle Union overshares a lot. Some may say too much. And luckily I read this book a few years ago before a lot of the oversharing. But in this book, she talks a lot about her previous marriage where she was in an abusive relationship. And I had never read anything like that before, so I think that was a very new experience for me as a reader to understand what that dynamic was like and what her previous relationship was like. It does end with her meeting Dwayne Wade and getting married. It has that happy ending kind of trope to it. However, with the recent news, I think I look at this book slightly differently. It's not bad. It actually feels like having a conversation with your girl best friends. We're Gonna Need More Wine. I love the title of this book, and I also really love wine. So I did drink wine while reading this book, and I think that's the best combo for this book actually. A lot of topics she talks about just require that type of relaxation, but that like really comfortable, kicking it back with your girlfriends and just talking, you know, letting everything out and letting loose. So in the middle, she talks a lot about her acting career and the different people that she's worked with. That part didn't really suit me because I'm not really active in the actor's world. I do like all of the personalization that's sprinkled throughout the book. I mean, it is her memoir, so she does a really great job of talking about how she felt on set, on these different movie sets, and in different relationships, and just going through life. It is a very comfortable, like chilling with your homegirls and just letting everything go type of book, and that's why I like it. She did have another one come out. I don't remember the title off the top of my head, but if you want to see a review on that one, let me know in the comments. But overall, this one has the appropriate amount of oversharing. Like, it's not overbearing, so I actually think this is a pretty decent book. Now it is time to rank these books. Number 5 will have to be More Than Enough by Elaine Welteroth. Like I said, it was very relevant to my life at the time, but it's not that relevant to my life now. This just wasn't my favorite. I wouldn't really recommend it to people at my age at this point in time, so yeah. So number 4 is gonna be Finding Me by Viola Davis, and strictly on the reason that this was very traumatic. At some points, this book made me cry. If you're not in that kind of vibe, I wouldn't really go for it. I am still a really big fan of Viola Davis though, so even though this book is number 4, I still really like her a lot. Number 3 is going to be Gabrielle Union, We're Gonna Need More Wine. I liked this book when I read it. and I think this book is appropriate for her life and for the amount that she is known to be oversharing. But I actually really like this. I think this is good. This is something that you can definitely pair with a glass of wine, any glass of wine. Again, if you guys want to see what I think about her second book, let me know in the comments. Number 2 is gonna be Issa Ray, The Misadventures of an Awkward Black Girl. Like I said, I really want her to do a second book. I think her humor comes out really well in interviews and in her different appearances, but also in her books. So I would love to see her write another book. So that is why she is number 2. Then number 1, of course, is our First Lady, Michelle Obama, with Becoming. This is still one of my favorite memoirs of all time. I do have some other memoirs that I haven't talked about in this video that are also my favorites. So if you want to see more celebrity memoirs, let me know. This has a little bit of everything. She gives you love stories, she gives you motherhood, she gives you career, she gives you a lot of career actually, so I actually really like that a lot. She sprinkles in a little bit of humor. There could be some more, but I really like her style. I like this book, and I started reading her second book, so if you want to know my unfiltered thoughts on that book, let me know in the comments. That is all for today. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end. If you like any of these books or want to know more, let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.